Yeah.
You mentioned that you kind of help people get their portfolio set up. What do you kind of often recommend for first-time investors, first-time landlords? How does that conversation go?
A lot of times it's be purposeful. That's actually the thing I was just talking about, like being single on purpose kind of thing. Being purposeful as a landlord is huge. I don't recommend taking your first house and turning it to a rental. You're emotionally connected to your house. And the first time you place somebody in there, they do not take care of it the same way that you will. So you're going to get butthurt when you go there and see that the grass is like 6 feet tall and like they've drilled new holes in your wall or whatever it's going to be.
Sure.
You're going to get an emotional reaction when you go back and see your house that you put your heart and soul into be treated quite bad. So that's a huge thing, is that I do say be very purposeful, and you also have to have a goal here. Like, do you want cash flow? Do you want equity? Do you want passive income? Do you want active income? Like, the more specific you are, the better I can help. And that's the first thing that I take somebody through the first time.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Realized Gains podcast. I'm Stephen Tran. I'm an Oregon realtor, and I'm also a multifamily investor and a short-term rental investor.
Hey everyone, I'm your co-host Jordan Lee, and I'm a mortgage lender based in Portland, Oregon, licensed in about 10 states. And I also invest in single-family homes. Super excited about the episode this week. We interviewed Justin Green, and he's got a great story. You know, he talks about his career change.
Oh, yeah.
Into real estate, and then eventually becoming a very successful and goal-oriented real estate investor.
Real estate investor, realtor, kind of how he built his business up. You know, some of the challenges he went through, and obviously at the end of the day, talking about his financial goals, what his FIRE goal looks like. So that was pretty great.
Yeah, if you want to get motivated to set some goals, tune in. Hey everyone, welcome to the Realized Gains podcast. My name is Jordan Lee, and I'm a mortgage lender based in Portland, Oregon, licensed in about 10 states.
And I am your co-host, Stephen Tran. I'm an Oregon realtor, and I'm a multifamily investor, and we're here with Justin Green. Hey, Justin.
Hi.
Thanks so much for coming on the show, Justin. We really appreciate you taking the time. Real quick for our guests, do you want to kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, how and why you got into real estate?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Justin Green. About a decade ago was when I entered real estate. So before that, I went to college, got a computer degree, and I ended up working, going towards tech and tech degree. I hadn't touched a computer until I was in college. It's the first time I ripped a computer apart. But I landed a job actually building movie theaters. So
building?
Oh, that's right.
Building movie theaters, yeah. So
like the actual construction of movie theaters?
Yeah. So every movie theater that you've been in, I've probably set up.
And you got this from getting a
tech degree? Yes.
Okay. How did that work out? So the movie theater is very mechanical, from like the 1900s, 1930s, film and gears and stuff. So I had a good mechanical background because I was an ASE mechanic guy working on cars. And that was my high school passion, fixing up, old muscle cars and stuff. And then I was like, I need to learn computers. The mechanic trade's not going to pay very much. And the movie theater, I did a work interview during college, and I needed to know somebody who worked in the tech field. And this actually my daughter's mom's brother worked at this little tiny company, and he's like, yeah, we use oscilloscopes and spectrum analyzers and RTAs, and like he helped me understand all the technical equipment of professional sound. Okay. Wow.
Professional sound and professional light. So that was super awesome to learn. And when I was graduating, digital cinema was just making like super, cutting edge technology, and ended up, they needed somebody who knew how to do computers and mechanical knowledge. So I ended up as the college kid, landing this job. And the first job was like 2 weeks short of graduation. I was in Pacific Island, Ponape or Majuro or something like that. And they wanted me to go out there and do my first job out there as a working interview. And I was like, I got 2 weeks to graduate. So I wanted to graduate, and then I had to wait and stuff. But I ended up taking the technical side of the company, and mainly converting all of the cinemas in America and outside of America from mechanical film that was used for 100 years to digital cinema, which was all cutting edge stuff. So digital cinema is all servers and hard drives and 3D stuff, and then and sound evolved as well with like Dolby Atmos and 5.1 and stuff like that. So so the easiest thing I relate it to is professional sound and professional light. And then the last few years I've done a lot of film festivals, and I started like helping with like the live sound to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
So live sound, what is live sound?
Concerts.
I see.
Yeah.
I was like,
So
technology that I don't know.
so that was all like, I guess that's my my beginning trade was, I was doing that, right? So I was flipping all these movie theaters. So as a movie theater would have to spend like $100,000 on all these upgrades.
Yeah.
I would go in and take out the film equipment and do it all over the United States, and a lot of times outside of the United States. And I'd take out all the film equipment. It'd take me a week per screen or so, and then got down to doing it a day per screen. So if I had 8plex over in like Maine, I'd be out there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And during the day that I'm working, I'm listening to podcasts and audiobooks about entrepreneurship. And I had always said that I wanted to buy a rental house. I grew up. So in that section with the movie theater stuff, I'm educating myself on like entrepreneurship and real estate, and a lot of the theater owners that I'm meeting happen to own other real estate. So I'm having lunch with them, and they're telling me
these guys are all like small business owners.
Yeah,
each theater kind of independently owned.
Exactly. Yeah. So we didn't work for too many big chains. We worked for a lot of mom and pop theaters. So I'm in there renovating. I'm the contractor, basically takes all the film equipment out, and I put in all the digital cinema stuff, and then I do all of my pro sound stuff and tuning and make it beautiful. And there's very good set of specs. I got trained by like Dolby and a lot of the big name cinema companies. I'd go and get trained and set stuff to the exact light and the exact sound. But these theater owners I'm making friends with all over the country. And I'm learning. I'm really grateful for this job because I learned a lot on how to travel all the time with just a backpack, and learning about small businesses. And these guys are buying rental houses, and I'm like, oh man, that's cool. I always want to do that. And so first thing I did was I bought my own house.
Okay, like your own primary.
My own primary, yeah.
Where was that at?
In Hillsborough.
Oh, great.
So I was back in the day in Ninja Loans. So, Ninja Loans.
No asset, no job, right?
Yeah, no job, no asset, no income, or whatever. You just make it up. I think I was making $12 an hour.
Wait, doing this, flying around the country?
Yeah, at first.
$12 an hour?
Yeah, at first. Yeah, that was like my first. I had a better wage. They paid me well at the end.
Okay.
But it ramped up, right? But when I bought the house, it was $12 an hour. And I went in and I showed them my paycheck, and I got a little newborn girl too. And I'm like, can I buy a house? And the mortgage lady's like, just spend like $150,000, stay under that, you'll be all right. So, but yeah, for about a decade, I educated myself on the movie theaters. I met with the small business owners. They inspired me to own more real estate. I wanted to get a real estate license for a long time. And I knew that real estate was the path to my own net worth and retiring early, and not having, since I was already working in a small company, we had started with 3 people, and that company grew up to like 15 people or so.
Okay.
And the last few years there, about a decade ago, my daughter is getting to be about 10. I'm getting tired of traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling all over and missing a lot of her childhood. And educating myself with all these small business guys. And one of the really good guys actually became pretty good friends with the guy in Maine, Rick, and he was a big inspiration because he ended up as a movie theater renting the movie theater out of this small little strip mall, and then he bought the whole strip mall.
Right.
Wow.
And then he sold the whole strip mall later and leased his own movie theater back. So, and he made like a lot of money in that deal and told me all about it.
Interesting.
Which was super cool. And I also got the skills of taking these dumpy little movie theaters and making them beautiful. So I'm doing renovations too. I'm like, I could do this in a house. How do I do that? I'm earning good money. I want to get real estate licensed. I drove by the Oregon Real Estate School on Highway 26 every time that I was going to work from Hillsborough to North Portland. And I always drove by that building and I'm like, I need to go to real estate school for a long time. And yeah, then I got licensed and became like a broker. But
But you didn't go to the school?
I did go to that.
Oh,
school.
you did go to the school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. What happened was, my daughter's getting older. My father-in-law also inspired me to get into real estate as well. He was an attorney and a very smart guy. And he had sat me down one time. He's like, do you want to earn 10%? The market's going to go up. Do you want to earn 10% of your little house, or do you want to move up and earn 10% of a big house that you guys are going to grow into? And I responded back to him that I want to earn 10% of both houses. And so he proceeded to tell me all his horror stories about being a landlord.
Of course.
He didn't like it as much, but it was good. He was really smart, and we had really good conversations. And by the end of I'm not married anymore, and by the end of the time that I was ending that marriage, he was actually ready to invest with me in some of my real estate entrepreneurs.
There you go.
Stuff. So yeah, I went into real estate like a decade ago, and my whole goal was to buy rental houses.
Yeah,
that was
mine too.
And I did a ton of like regular business, and I eventually figured out like every 20 something houses that I closed was a down payment for a rental house.
Yeah.
So,
were you doing the movie theater in overlap with this?
Yeah.
For how long?
It lasted 2, maybe 3 years. I was working both jobs. What happened was the movie theater company the owner was wanting to retire, so he wanted to step away. I started that job at 23, so I'm like turning into my 30s. My father-in-law said, buy the company. And he actually helped me form a business plan and a leverage buyout structure for the company. And the owner I would travel with sometimes, and he was a great guy, taught me a ton of stuff. And he also the whole time is pitching in my ear about buying real estate.
Yeah.
Like he bought commercial real estate. And I remember a story he told me he bought this RV and then he needed somewhere to store it. So he just bought this huge business over in North Portland and took half of it to park his RV in it. And then it became like a satellite shop for our speakers and stuff like that too. So he also was a big influence for real estate, and he started buying rentals. And so during that time, he's trying to phase out. It was 2-3 years. He's trying to phase out. I'm trying to buy the company. I'm a younger guy, right? He offers the whole company. Only me and the one lady, the assistant, were stepping up to buy the company out of the 15 people. He opened it up to everybody. And then when that happened, her and I started butting heads. I see the writing on the wall that this is going to end up one of two ways. It's going to end up with me buying the company and running it and doing the best that I can. Or it's going to end up with her buying the company. And as soon as she had the power and authority, I was out in the field doing all the jobs.
Yep.
She's at the desk counting all the numbers. So we have crews working all over the country, and I'm project managing a lot of these big jobs. So when we build like huge multiplexes, of course there's going to be a return trip, and maybe some guy forgot to wire a speaker horn tweeter or something. We got to fly out there. It costs a couple $100. So, there was a lot of my mistakes that were brought to light that weren't necessarily even my mistakes, but I was responsible for the whole construction side of that company.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there was a lot of butting of heads. And when I got licensed in real estate and wanted to get active, I started like having fun with it. It was awesome. It was what I wanted. It was my passion for a long time. And I started closing more and more deals. And eventually I was working. I remember I'd be driving into work. If I worked in town, I have to be at the office at 8:30, but some of my lenders that I worked with were early birds. So we'd get up and start talking like 7 a.m, get an hour and a half of what deals are going and figuring out talking with my early title people and early lender people. And then I was licensed, and I remember I had one principal broker that stayed late at the office. So I would go at 5 and go into the office, and I would work with him and get some mentorship and some training for him, especially on deals that I was in. And I'd pop in, and he's really great. He owns a local brokerage now that's pretty big, and he was super helpful because all my off hours, I was working before. I would go to the job like 7, 8 in the morning. I'd work at lunchtime, and then I'd work at nighttime, and eventually I started showing houses like in my lunch breaks. If it was in
I've
North
been
Portland, yeah, if it was in North Portland, I'm showing houses on my lunch breaks. And real estate was becoming a full-time job by about the second year. And my other full-time job was traveling, and I'm trying to, like, I'm working from hotel rooms a lot of times.
Yeah.
Calling, I go do my open house and meet a bunch of people, and then follow up with them all week at night I'm at the hotel, like setting up next weekend for all my showings and stuff. So and I'm working like 2 full-time jobs the second year. And that's when, like it wasn't, my plan was to save up enough money. I had taken a 401k loan to buy my next size up house on my own.
Oh, so you're just upgrading. Did you?
Yeah, I just upgraded, so I want 10% of both those houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I wanted 2 houses, and I turned the first one into the rental. And I had this 401k loan that was like 50 grand. And as soon as you leave a company, you have to pay that within 30 days, right?
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, I'm still paying mine off. It's been like 6 months.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it depends on your 401k.
Yeah, it probably
plan.
depends on the provider. Yeah.
okay. Well, I was under this gun of like, okay, I need to save up 50 grand. If I have 50 grand saved up from all my activities as a real estate stuff, I could leave and pay that off and seamlessly move over into full-time real estate. It didn't happen that way. Like I remember it was January, and I was showing houses on my lunch break, and I'm pretty sure that the owner had driven by and saw my car outside of a house with real estate sign on it. Right, it was just down the road, and I remember like grabbing that door handle over the door, and I was like, "This is the last time I'm walking in this building," and it was. And I had to make a choice. He's like, "Come, you need to make the choice of either do that real estate thing you've been thinking of, or stay. I've made the decision to sell the company to her." And I'm like, "There's no choice. As soon as she has the authority, I'm out. The only reason I'm still at this job is because him and I were really good, and we worked together several times for over a decade. But yeah, it was kind of it was forced, right?
So the whole time you're basically kind of a secret agent. Like they didn't know you had your license.
They did. They knew, but I was like, my priority was to the company and traveling, and I'm working and I'm wiring up massive sound racks of amplifiers and stuff. And during that, I could listen to podcasts, or I can listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
Or I could like be negotiating clients and calling deals and stuff. So there's some of that time that I did. I'd be in a deal, and yeah, so it was earlier than I wanted, but I went to his retirement party, and the first thing I did was shake his hand and say, thank you for firing me. It was the best thing that ever happened.
That's awesome.
Not the best thing that ever happened, but I mean, my daughter being born is probably the best thing that ever happened. But yeah, it was an uncomfortable kick in the butt to go out and go work on that dream.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I just like foot on the gas, and I didn't let up until probably this year.
Well, when did that happen? What year was that?
2013.
2013, and you just got your first, basically your upgrade of a house, and you're renting your old house.
Yeah. I had moved into the new house. It was relatively fresh during that time.
Yeah.
Moving into the new house and having my first rental. Yeah.
Okay, so you're pushed off the ledge.
Yeah.
What happens like right then and there? What do you decide with your business or how you're going to succeed? Because you have no income.
Yeah,
and you have one property that you got to pay. Now you have to pay 2 mortgages.
Yeah, and I was it was definitely a fire in the pants. I was the breadwinner for the family too, because when I was married, my wife was like in school so she's not earning a big income, and I just put my foot on the gas, and I remember I was picking up the phone and calling every client that I had met at open houses, and I started just working a lot of regular retail clients, like buyers and sellers, and I did good in full-time real estate. I was like rookie of the year for the first year.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was. I just kept on that for a long time, and my whole MO that I did in the beginning was like open houses. I do 1 weekend open houses, and then I do 2 to 3 buyer tours the next day, 2 to 3 clients, right? Nice. And then with buyer tours, then you line everything up, do 3-4 houses and stuff. So you go from house to house. But yeah, it put a huge pressure on me to like put as much effort into this as I could. I had no choice. Right?
Yeah,
it was if I were to fail, it would be a pretty big loss, and I had to really quickly pay off that $50,000 that I didn't have.
You said 30 days, right?
Yeah, I had 30 days, something like that. It was
So
really fast.
You were close. So
I was close. I was close, and I robbed. I
Robbed a bank?
No, I robbed Peter to pay Paul. Is what happens. I've learned in real estate investing, you have to do that all the time.
Yeah.
You have to take like some money that you got over here and pay it over here, and then replace it over here.
Yep.
So, yeah.
No, that's amazing.
So, and do you find yourself like working with a lot of investors now, or
Yeah.
is that sort of your niche, or what has happened to your business in the meantime?
Yeah, so over like the last 10 years, I've built up a real good client base, and I love my repeat and referral clients. Like once you've earned trust with somebody, and as I've been the whole time doing the active real estate, I've also been building my rental portfolio.
Right.
And so with the guy, I have a lot of clients that I've mentored to become landlords and mentored to invest in real estate. And it's totally different when I'm with a buyer and I'm saying, I'm buying. I'm not buying your deal, but I'm personally buying right now.
Yep.
Right. So like a lot of people have come to me and want to be a first time landlord, and I'll take them all the way through like what it's like. And I do say having one rental, I always tell everybody, my advice is one rental is miserable. It's not fun to do one rental. You do need to have a couple, because it's the couple $100 a month you make on one rental is not really worth the amount of hassle
Exactly.
you have to go through. So
You got to scale it up for sure.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mentioned this, that I met you at a real estate investing event.
Yeah.
So seems like you do a lot of those. Is that like your
Yeah. Mike and Tyler were, I met Mike like back in like 2013 or 2014 or so when he's first starting the Redbird thing. And we met on Bigger Pockets.
Oh, yeah.
We messaged each other back then. He said, I'm investing in Portland. Let's, we became buddies. And so I've always been supportive of what they're doing. It's super awesome. So I've always tried to go to the events and help out wherever I can. And like, I've always been in different brokerages. I ran my own brokerage. I started at a brokerage. I ran my own, and then I moved to K-Dub. And I've been at K-Dub now 4 or 5 years. But when I was running my own stuff, I based all my models off the K-Dub stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So the systems and like going through business coaching was huge. And it really helped. A lot of times I could maintain the same level of business and start to have a life, because I became single dad, teenage girl. Like I need time at home with my daughter.
Right.
And I can't work 70 hours a week and do like if you're doing that level of business in real estate, you're going to work 70, 80 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. You mentioned that you kind of help people get their portfolio set up. What do you kind of often recommend for first-time investors, first-time landlords? How does that conversation go?
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm taking so it's very dependent. If you already have a house and you want to leave that house, and that comes up all the time. I want to move up. What I personally did is I moved up and I left my house as a rental. And I tell them my story. I did my first rental. I really severely messed up. I I took an emotional connection to the tenant, and that tenant was all great for like almost a year, and then he just stopped paying rent, and he caused me a huge eviction. And it was when I looked at all said and done and finally got him out of there, it was $25,000 loss.
Oh my God.
To me, it was huge. It was a massive loss.
Can I ask, did you like background check?
Yeah,
all that stuff?
yeah, and he was honest about his background that was kind of shady, and I was giving a second chance, and that was a big lesson to me. A $25,000 master's lesson in landlording.
Yeah, I mean, I always say this about, because I've had plenty of mistakes, contractor mistakes, tenant mistakes. It's tuition, you know.
Yeah, it's your master's degree. It's part of your college. Yeah.
It's just one of those things, like, you basically can't avoid it. I've had bad tenants that pass everything with flying colors.
Yeah.
You know, great in person, great on paper, great credit score, good job, and then they trash the place, or they they just stop paying for some reason or another, you know. So
back to your question too, my advice a lot of times is be purposeful. That's actually the thing I was just talking about, like being single on purpose kind of thing. Being purposeful as a landlord is huge. I don't recommend taking your first house and turning it to a rental. You're emotionally connected to your house, and the first time you place somebody in there, they do not take care of it the same way that you will. So you're going to get butthurt when you go there and see that the grass is like 6 feet tall and like they've drilled new holes in your wall or whatever it's going to be.
Sure.
You're going to get an emotional reaction when you go back and see your house that you put your heart and soul into be treated quite bad. So that's a huge thing, is that I do say be very purposeful, and you also have to have a goal here. Like, do you want cash flow? Do you want equity? Do you want passive income? Do you want active income? Like, the more specific you are, the better I can help. And that's the first thing that I take somebody through the first time.
Okay.
Because a lot of times your goals. We just did a goal meeting last night at Gentleman's Dinner, and one of our guys' goals are really wide, right? So we got to take it down to, like, if you could just concentrate on one thing.
Is this a new investor that has really wide goals? Like they want to make all the equity in the world and cash flow a ton of money?
I don't think it's all that new, but I think it might be new to the approach of the goal setting ways, that at least the way that I've been taught to do it, and then I teach that as well. So being purposeful is probably the biggest thing.
Be purposeful. I like that.
With what you want, and then really sitting down. Like, for me, being my purposeful story was that I want $500 per door of cash flow, and I want 20 doors, and I want $10,000 a month coming in of passive income, whether I work or not. And at that point, I can retire.
I see.
And that is my 10-year goal.
Right.
And I'm like, that's kind of awesome. I'm like, it's on the, I see it right there.
Right. It's very easy for you to remember, very concrete.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a very simple method. And what I didn't grasp when I did that is that your first door that made $500, now you've raised your rent like several times.
Yeah.
Now that door's making you $1,000, $1,500, and it snowballs more and more.
Right.
That's pretty.
Can I ask you about your portfolio? Is it all single family, or do you do multifamily?
Yeah, I have all single families with additional units. So I got a lot of SFRs with ADUs.
Okay.
That's and then I have some duplexes, but I don't have any large multifamily.
Okay.
It's all single family.
And the ADUs, have you built those, remodeled those, or
All
of
options.
those? Okay.
Yeah, I've bought some with them. I have one right across the river. Super awesome. I love that one. And I bought that with it. And then I have added, I was a contractor before in the theater business. So I've added a couple, I've built a couple, I'm building a couple right now.
Nice.
And then as I have a lot of my properties, I look at higher and best use. So what's the best way that I can make this, the one that I'm in right now was a 500 square foot kind of junky house. And I've taken that down and built 2 big houses and 2 ADUs. So I got 4 units out of 1.
Nice.
So you want to maximize the use of this, the best use of that space.
Well, and in our area, as we know, Portland is zoned things very favorably towards duplexes and ADUs, or the combination of the two, right? So you're kind of taking advantage of the code and permitting. Because were you able to get a lot of your permits waived on the ADU work that you've done? Because I saw that they were doing that for a while. I don't know if that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because you guys initially target like midterm rental type stuff and short-term rental stuff. So that I wanted to at least make that bring that up as I'm building these ADUs. Yes, they do waive your SDCs.
Oh, nice. For our listeners, what does that mean?
Your system development charges.
Okay.
So that's
and what does that break down to about? Ballpark.
Ballpark is probably like $15,000 per unit.
Okay. For like a 600 to 800 square foot ADU.
It almost doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter as long as you're submitting.
It's like
or remodel
permission for your sewer lines and water lines and stuff.
Is that Portland specific, or is that just okay? What about the rest of Oregon?
Rest of Oregon's everyone's a little bit different. But if you have a house already, you've already paid a lot of that development fees already. So that's what they do. So like on the example one that I have, it had already been paid the development fees back in the 50s or whatever. So we got credit for that. And then I added 3 more. So I had to pay 3 more. And then with the ADUs, they were doing complete waiver of the permits for a while. Yeah. But what I've learned is that nothing's free, right? So it does come back on your property tax bill.
Okay.
And now the new thing that what I'm currently going through is that yes, you can have your SDCs waived on your ADUs in exchange for signing an addendum with the city of Portland that says you will not short-term rental.
Right. Yeah. There's something about you need to. Okay. That
makes sense. And if you do,
but you can still do a midterm rental.
You can. So you can do 30-day rental. So you can't even get a license for a short-term in it. And if the penalty is 1.5 times the current SDC, which goes up every year.
And you can't do a short-term rental anyway unless it's your primary, right? Or unless you have a controlling manager or something.
Exactly. Yeah. You pretty much have to live on site.
Yeah. It's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah. That's why I went into the midterm. Well, that's part of that one's not even operating yet, but there's.
So your strategy now, you're targeting midterms for both your ADUs and your main properties, or
No, the single family. I'm a long term buy and hold investor, right? So
okay,
most of my single family 3.2s are long term rentals.
right?
Now the small units work really well for the midterms.
Oh, okay. And what are you seeing in difference, like just rough numbers? Like if you, let's say you had a 600 square foot ADU, compared renting that out as a long term versus a midterm.
Well, I got a good one. 2-bed, 1-bath, like 1,000 square foot, same thing.
Okay.
I got two 2-1s that are pretty similar, 750 to 1,000 square feet, two different properties.
Uh-huh.
One of them, so one's a top bottom duplex, and then one's a side by side duplex.
Yeah.
And the top bottom's kind of like an SFR with an apartment.
Uh-huh.
I think of that. I don't think of that one as a duplex, but the classic side by side you do.
Right.
But in reality, it's a duplex.
Yep.
So I did do with both of those. I've always done long term, right? So I rented one of them over here on long term, and the top bottom one, the bottom unit's always a little harder to rent.
Mm-hmm.
It was last year, 2 years ago, like $1,500, $1,600 monthly. Now I don't pay any of the utilities. I don't have any of the furnishings or any of that stuff. So I'm pulling $1,500, $1,600 on that.
You're not paying for water? Is it split?
Yeah, I bet on a long-term tenant, all your utilities are going long-term tenant. At least that's how I operate.
I have a fourplex, and I had to pay for the water because it's all one.
Yeah, if you only have 1 meter,
it's not metered out.
Yeah. 1 meter, I just work it out between all the tenants, and I usually do a proration of size or credit back. Like on that one, with some of the stuff, I do credit the main tenant back. The long-term tenant gets a couple $150 for utilities. Okay. I just look at you can look at the average billing for Northwest Natural and PGE. You look at their 12-month billing, and then I say, well, if your space is 1/3 of the square footage, I'll credit you back 1/3 of the year's average wage. Yeah. And then I'll either work that on the rent or I'll throw it in a credit in our software. And just make it as simple. I don't want to deal with bills.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get that.
Yep.
Make things as simple as possible. And yeah, so then the other one, I had the duplex, and I rented. I had a similar number. I put that one up for $1,500 for long-term tenant. And on that side, I remember that I was blown away at how many inquiries I got on that thing. Mm-hmm. This was about right before Corona hit. So no, it was during Corona actually, like 2 years ago ish. And I put it on for like $1,595, and I got 2,500 inquiries on that thing.
Holy
it was
cow.
Impossible to keep track.
Where was this?
This is in Tigard.
Oh, okay.
So it was so hard to keep track of it. That was a long-term tenant. Like the demand for a long-term tenant in the sub 2,000 range is insane. Yeah. So I get like 2,500 inquiries on that of like back and forth and people asking questions, and I just can't even keep track. And the apps come in, and I just look at the apps like, okay, qualified. Yeah. And so they got placed long-term tenant. And then the other one also was a long-term tenant. That the other one just didn't get as many inquiries because it was a top bottom. Yeah. So it wasn't as desirable of a unit. Two entirely different long-term tenants, both about the same price, about the same $1,500, $1,600 range on 2-1s. One was a really great tenant. One needed to be evicted. Yeah. And was an ultra complainer. Yeah. But then I took the other side of that duplex, and I'm like, I'm going to try this furnished, because I actually did do a short term. My first experience in the Airbnb world or short term world was the build that I'm in right now, and that was a little 1-1, and I needed a creative way to cover my holding costs on that. Right. And
while you were taking care of the permitting and
I never intended to occupy that. I never bought that house to occupy it. I bought it to scrape it down. But I got in a divorce. Everything got thrown. Like I had to pivot and change my business really quick. And I had money going out, and I had to create money coming in. So I figured I did a quick rehab on it, and I put it up on B&B as a short-term nightly rental. And this was before some of the laws got enacted. Right. Yeah. And I called that one the St. John Special. And it was horrible. It wasn't great. And I put it up ultra cheap, like $50, $60 a night. And I got a lot of complaints.
Well, because of how quickly you turned it over?
No, it was just not a good house, and it was in a rough neighborhood. Yeah. So that introduced me to the short term, and like I learned within about a year of that's absolutely not what I want to do. Yeah. That amount of like work and turnover and messaging, and like it's a full-time job. Yeah. And so, but I experienced with the short term side, and I see a hole in being a regular broker. I see a hole in a market too. Like there's a need for people, working professionals that need to stay like more than 30 days. Like,
Corporate housing.
yeah, like when I go now,
services.
now one of my goals is getting to financial independence is to be able to take vacations longer. So I want to stay in a place for a month or more.
Yeah.
That's a good vacation to me, and I'd look for a place that I can just go park for a month. I bring my suitcase and go park for a month. So on the other side of that duplex, I put one side as I was like, I'm just going to furnish it and throw it up there and try it out. And I ran both of them for 1 year. And the long-term tenants were perfect, wonderful, great tenants, no issues really. And the short-term stayed pretty full. And it was pulling like 22 to 26, 2,800. Now I had utilities
Yeah.
and furnishings and other expenses. You know, you got to provide everything. You got to provide all the towels and we do paper towels and dish soaps and all that stuff.
You have to keep the inventory managed.
Yeah, so you got all these expenses. So you can't look at like 1,500 versus 2,500.
Yeah.
It's not an easy $1,000, and there's some work involved.
Oh, yeah.
So-
the constant turnover, the messaging.
Yeah,
You said this is midterm?
yeah. This was the one that I did a side by side duplex.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
a long term and a midterm about. I think that was like 2020
Okay.
that I.
So gross receipts though about 1,000 more, expenses probably
Like
an extra
300
25%,
-ish.
some-
Yeah.
Or maybe you made about 700 more a month though.
And less
Yeah.
passive. Less
Yeah, but I had vacancy and stuff. What really told was my schedule ease at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So then I look, okay, yeah, it actually did do better.
Yeah.
It wasn't phenomenally better, but I always say, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
And it was also a different product that I saw a need for. Like
Yep.
people legitimately wanted this. Plus, I get the house back more often. And
Right. If you need to stay there for a couple days,
I stay there, yeah.
Or you like a buddy to stay there. For
when I got
coming out of
vacancies
town or
and
whatever.
somebody's coming in for Thanksgiving or whatever, and put them up for 2-3 days if something's empty. It created a flexibility, and it was a
Or even like a client, as a realtor, if a client like
I remember I raffled off at one of my client events. I raffled
you
off
go,
a
yeah.
weekend at one
Oh,
of my places.
Yeah.
So
Basically a question about this. Obviously with short-term rentals, it's really easy to just throw it on Airbnb,
Yeah.
put maybe 2 days because you don't want somebody to stay a day, throw a party and leave.
yeah.
What is your strategy for midterm? Like what do you do to get people in there? And
Well, the minimum booking is 30 days.
so that's all you do. You just do
I don't
Airbnb?
take anybody under 30 days. Even if it allows it, I don't do it.
Okay.
It's
so
just not a.
Plus, it's against city law.
Yeah, in Portland it is, but outside of Portland, it's
Right.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can do anything you want.
so is that your strategy just Airbnb for
No.
30 days or
30 days is my minimum stay.
Yep.
So then it comes on to, in my landlord business, in my regular buy and hold business, I'm using year-long leasing, but it's also very common to do month to month.
Yeah.
So I essentially take those 30-day stays as month to months. And I did have like all your direct bookings. I put them on a month-to-month lease, and I treat them just like a long-term tenant. But the difference is that they're simply showing up with a suitcase, and I'm covering everything for them.
Right.
So it's all included in their rent, their Wi-Fi, their garbage, all their bills. They just don't worry about it. It's just like they just pay me, one lump sum at the end of the month, and I handle it in my business. So, yeah, I make it as easy as possible for them, but. Yeah, I will say on the B&B is I just had an experience where I was completely booted off of B&B.
Oh, really? What was the situation there?
I went, took a 30-day vacation, and I hired a new co-host before I left. As Corona happened, your business has to pivot and evolve, and I lost my regular awesome assistant for several years, and I had to go through like hiring different ones. And I basically. When I was gone, something happened in the duplex, and so the duplex that I had a long term and a short term, the medium term. When the long term left, they became a client. It was awesome. I helped them go. They bought a house,
Nice.
and I had that unit back, and I was like, hey, that furnished thing is kind of cool. I'm going to do that over there too.
Right.
The juice was worth the squeeze. I want to see what it does now on 2, and I can always go back to long term
If you need to, yeah.
and so I turned it to they're both mid like 30-day plus. Now they have vacancies. Like that's the thing about these 30 days is you can get like a month of vacancy,
Right.
or you can get 3 weeks of vacancy or something. And it's kind of like today we were going over our bookings. We have like December 9th, 21st, and like 18th or something like that. So,
Yeah.
But what happened when I was gone, some issue happened between a guest who wasn't, and I had to all like, I keep security cameras on the fronts of the houses just simply to know who's coming.
Yep.
And to talk to them when they first enter the key code, because it's been a huge time saver. But they had a parking issue. It looked like from the security cams. It's like one person's parking, taking up the whole spot. Another person's bringing 5 cars. It's this whole parking fiasco. I think it would have been just picking up the phone and talking to each tenant directly would have solved that. But instead, today's B&B does not really advocate like personal interactions with your tenants. Like everything runs through B&B.
Yep.
And B&B is supposed to be the safety police, right? Well, pretty sure. So I escalated this up to B&B when I came back, and my account was suspended. And that was the first thing. I call them and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Why is my account suspended?" "Oh, we can't. We got to escalate it further to find out and stuff." So somebody claimed a safety. Somebody felt unsafe. So it became like a safety violation. And I look at the security cameras and I'm like, okay, it looks like a parking issue out front. And I see the 2 guests, like a younger guy and a little old lady, right? So, and they're like staring at it. I think the little old lady got scared over some parking issues. And the co-host that I had hired, the message that I got, I was over in Europe and my phone was not. I had lost my phone while I was traveling, so it was super fun.
I get it.
Yeah. I actually really loved it. It was
amazing.
It was so good. But she's like, there was a problem at the duplex. Don't worry, I handled it. Like, okay, cool. But then I came back and it was empty. And then
interesting way of handling it.
And then I log into my account and it's suspended. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I escalated up, and B&B doesn't even tell you. I call it the Spanish Inquisition. They don't tell you what the thing is, what the complaint is. You got to figure it out. And so that was a big eye opener to me to have how much control B&B has. They just shut off everything.
And you can't market it. I mean, do other platforms were you able to get bookings?
Yeah, I've been up on all the other platforms.
Yeah, but
and pushing them very hard. But B&B's the giant.
Yeah,
like Verbo, Furnish Finder,
Verbo, Furnish Finder, Craigslist, even Facebook, Zillow, all of them. Yeah, it's a range of people that come through though. That's for sure. And now I've got a new assistant who's doing really, really good, and she's giving me updates every day on where people are coming from. We just had a conversation this morning. I called Craigslist the bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
And she's like, I want to see like how many leads I get before I have to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Right. So, she's actually not really pushing Craigslist very much.
I was going to say, I feel like Craigslist died because I get most of my hits for my long-term rentals on Facebook Marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Facebook and Zillow is the long-term stuff.
Yeah, and it was just a couple years ago, I was getting all my hits on Craigslist. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there.
I think the tenant population is moving, and I grew up as a tenant. So I always put myself in the mind of a tenant when I go long-term or short-term. It's a conversation I have with my new assistant all the time too, is like, we are on the side of providing the housing, but you also have to think of the people that need the housing and, what are they looking at?
Yeah.
And how do they know you're not? How do they know you're safe? How do they know you're not a scammer? All this stuff.
So you just go to your profile, see your real person,
see your stuff. But yeah, it was a big lesson. I came back to I have 4 of them, and they're all empty. They were all empty, and that sucks with November. All your property taxes are due.
Right. Yep.
So I was like major underwater in November. So that is one thing I do advise to people who want to play this game too. Is you need some cash reserves, because depending on if you escrow your taxes or not, like. Some of my stuff's commercial and it doesn't escrow, and then you got, not only do you have that big tax bill, but if you go 4 units empty, that's 4 mortgages that you're paying.
Yeah. And for our listeners, just real quick, to escrow your taxes means that you just pay it every month with your mortgage statement. And some people either choose not to escrow their taxes, or the lender won't allow them to.
Yeah.
So you could have if you have multiple properties, you could have a big bill. In Oregon, we pay taxes once in November, whereas some states you might pay twice or 3 times.
Jordan, so quick question for you. I always have my escrow paid every month through my mortgage. What are the benefits of having it be paid at the end of the year?
Well, I mean, there's a couple minor benefits, right? You get a slight discount if you pay it all yourself ahead of time by a certain date. I can't remember the exact date, but you get like maybe a 3% discount if you do that by yourself. And then, of course, also there's the opportunity cost, right? So if you're a savvy investor, you might be able to be making money on your on your funds while they're sitting there waiting to pay taxes.
I like having the control of having the money in my account.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
do you have fun being surprised in November? Or?
No, I no, it's fine. I mean, I plan for it. I know it's all coming. It's an extra hard hit when you cut off. One is cutting all those checks is fine. You got to do it, but it also is extra hard hit when you got empty mortgages. Right?
It's kind of like prepaying taxes, right? You guys are 1099
Quarterly.
or you pay quarterly or whatever, but most people will pay every paycheck, but some people will change a little bit so they pay more or less with every paycheck. But personally, for me, I like to just have that taken care of so I don't have that big bill coming up. But
it's part of it. I do notice in the midterms, though, for sure, the vacancy is more, especially wintertime. Like right now, I'm seeing a lot of midterm hosts really pushing to get full.
Oh, I mean, it's the same with short term too. My summer was completely booked. I mean, I was making good money, and now it's like, oh my God,
Crickets.
can somebody please come in?
Yes. I stay in a lot of the short-term community because the short-term community has a good ear on the ground of that traveler. A lot of if you're affected, my midterm's way more affected than the long-term guy, right? So, yeah, you definitely get some of the short-term problems still follow into midterm.
Yeah. Now I want to jump to your realtor business. Like I said, I met you at the Rare Bird investing event. What does your clientele look like now? Like, do you do a lot of just first-time home buyer, all the regular?
I do a lot of people wanting to build rental portfolios.
Okay, so you like to focus on that specifically.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like obviously, I know there's repeat buyers. You're going to try to buy as many as possible. Is that why you like it?
Yeah, I like I like an ongoing relationship as well, and a certain level of trust, and plus fiduciary financial advisor type stuff. Like I meet financial advisors all the time, and then they don't really understand real estate. And so I consider myself like financial advisor in real estate. And I do like some of my clients that have 3-4 houses in, a couple of trans over the course of a decade now that maybe they've moved a couple of times, or maybe they're building their portfolio. There's definitely a really good level of trust. And there's also, I really love sitting down and brainstorming, how do we get you retired? How do we get you financially independent? My dentist is freaking awesome. We set his goal a couple years ago to retire him out of daily working. Yeah. And I remind him each transaction, sometimes that's the coolest thing is watching him go from a couple $100 of cash flow. And I call him one day and I'm like, hey, I'm tapped out. I'm not buying this deal. Buy it. And
there you go.
And that's some of my repeat. And he's like, all right, cool. And he just texts me. At first I say, you're not going to make any money the first year. Not very much because it's under rented. You're buying it with lower price tenants, but you got to get them out and get to market rent. He goes, yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's he's going from a couple $100, $200-$300 cash flow, $1,500 when he turned his tenants. And he's like, oh man, yeah, that's awesome.
So is that with investors right now, is that kind of what you're looking for? Homes that have tenants that are sort of under market and you're just kind of advising to your clients hey, I know the numbers don't pencil right now, because it is hard to find something that pencils right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to accept right now that your interest rates suck and it's going to eat into your cash flow. But I'm long-term guy usually. That's my mind goes. And that's what that one client that I was talking about. He was at 10% of goal. But last time we just reevaluated, he's almost 30% of his goal. And he's got another unit to be filled right now. So that'll get 40% of goal. But that's very specific. He's basically kind of copying my model.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. If you could target to earn a couple $100 per door per month, I think the last deal we got him was $600 per door per month right away.
Wow. Okay.
And so the rental pool is going down. The long-term rental pool for sure is going down in Portland. Less and less people want to be landlords in Portland. So if you do and you could stomach it, you're going to be poised to do really well.
I mean, that's what we keep trying to tell people is people are afraid of the laws here.
Yeah.
People don't want to be landlords here.
Yeah.
What does fear breed? Opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I see it. I mean, I see a lot of I get referred a lot of clients that are landlords because I'm a landlord too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I understand what they're going through and they're just done. A lot of the guys that have retired already now have to go into active learning the laws.
Right. They don't want to go. They don't want to relearn that.
Yeah, no, they don't want to. And they're I'm out. Every time the city of Portland passes a new law, I'm out. Well, that rental inventory is not going back to be a rental inventory.
And we're not building homes super fast here.
No,
that's for sure.
It's just the city's policies are backfiring on them big time.
Oh yeah, oh my god! Like like I see a lot of rental properties just sitting, and people are like, "What do I do?"
Yeah,
like especially the what is it, the forced relocation amount?
Yeah, the forced relo that exited out. So every realtor you talk to will tell you how many landlords sold their properties.
I don't know if I told you I have a Vancouver property, I have a Troutdale property, I have a Beaverton property, I have Hillsborough.
Okay.
I might have another one, but nothing touches Portland or Monroe County.
Yeah.
You know,
it's rough. And like I just this morning, I got that letter about the Portland's business tax.
Oh yeah. One of my clients, one of my real estate clients got that. They're like, oh,
give us your money. And then there's landlord registration. Like that's
oh my God. I can't.
The city is trying to put government control over private business, and it never works. And like rent control only hurt the tenants. I was a big advocate of no rent control. All the bad landlords are out of business now.
Yeah.
You basically have the companies left. Blackstone and Home Partners own 500 properties in Portland.
Yep.
More than that. And that's the silent big giant that is definitely raising 14.3% this year across the board to everything.
Oh, yeah.
And, you didn't do that to a tenant before. A good tenant was, most of the time, they'd be like $50, maybe $100. You treat the house good, you're a good tenant. I don't want to raise the rent on you. But rent control forced us in. And then all the time you get clients that want to sell a property and they can't. With the tenant in control, it's like, and if it's under rented, that just hurt their value big time. It falls into a commercial space, but these guys aren't operating like a commercial loan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it's a little scary. So, back to your realtor business specifically, like, do you have any pros and cons of working with like investor clients? Because I have some.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons. Yes. I'd say the pro is repetitive business. The con is no loyalty.
Yeah, that's definitely one too. Yeah, and some of them have analysis paralysis too. Like first time investor clients, they have that like running the numbers. Oh, it has to cash flow.
I need the ARV to equal exactly 80% of this deal. Well, it just doesn't happen in Portland.
Yeah,
you have to create the deal, which is who says that? Bigger Pockets guy says that all the time.
Yeah, I say this is real estate investing is half numbers and half art.
Yeah, it's an artwork, and you need to be creative. And like I come from a construction, and the reason I get good equity is I go in and I do a lot of stuff that other people aren't going to do. I've cleaned up so much tenant. I call myself professional garbage man sometimes. Like I have bought a lot of properties that are just. You do the things that somebody else doesn't want to do, and that's where you have to make the deal. And also you gotta do it. That's another thing I tell a lot of my first time, like don't hire somebody $12,000 to clean up the trash in the house.
Money for another down payment somewhere else.
Yeah, that's go work for 3 weekends and hire your buddies and bribe them however you need and fill some dumpsters.
You can do that when you get to scale. Like that makes sense. But like in your first deal, it's like okay, like
your first deal
when you're Chip and Joanna Gaines, you can do that. But when
exactly. Go get the chop saw and go put in your own trim and paint some walls and stuff like that. Save yourself some of that money,
Some of the stuff, yes. Like there's a certain point.
I mean, like I said, you're not.
But like cleaning up garbage is huge, and that if you just pay somebody to do that because you don't want to touch it, there's $10,000 a year.
I'll say something.
Go buy some REITs. Yeah.
You know what's really fun is demo. Demo is my favorite thing.
Super fun.
It's the cheapest. What do you usually pay for that? Like,
I usually do it.
I just do it myself. I did it with Tony. You know? Yeah.
Demo's super fun. You can have a demo party.
Yeah, we had a demo party. Oh, Jordan was there.
Yeah.
And we demoed a whole kitchen and we ordered a big dumpster. And I think that obviously that costs money, but if I paid some dude to do it, I think that's like what? Honestly, $10,000. Yeah, easy.
My favorite demo is my assistant bringing her kids, and giving the kids safety goggles and hammers and letting them start hammering on the fireplace and the bricks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's super fun. It's like I try to incorporate like family affairs, my family and friends, and demo is the most fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's a great. So yeah, that's why, like I said, with first time investors, like I don't want to do anything, and I also want to make money. And I'm just like,
go demo.
This is kind of why I'm like. Maybe I should move away from investors.
And with a lot of my clients, like I will show up and help them demo if they're like a little scared to take out a chunk of sheetrock or something. I got a FUBAR and I show them that and like I'm like, here, let's tell you how. And then I'll also take you. A lot of times I'll go to Home Depot with you, and not that I'm going to do that with everybody, but take some of them to Home Depot. Be like, here's a sheet of sheetrock. It's $12. It's a lot of labor, and there's mudding and taping and all that stuff, and you don't want to do sheetrock, but just to know, like you demo it and take it out. It's not
It's so easy to put in.
You just got to have a good grasp. I'm just very hands-on on a lot of my projects. So
Yeah. And if you're doing drywall and it's behind cabinets or whatever, just do it. Just screw it in, hit it in some walls and do some bad taping. And like, if it's going to get covered up with tile and cabinets, just do it. Like, why not?
Well, there's just good. The sweat equity is a good way to earn money, and then also
To start.
Yeah, and then doing things that others shy away from, right? And I mean, my first purposeful rental was a pot operation before pot was legal, and it was a devil worshiper and some pot growers, and I had a 2-year lease, and I had to have them for 2 years. I didn't really ever get to see that house until they moved out.
Wow.
Oh boy.
And I bought it on Seller Carry, so that was also
There you go.
pretty awesome. So this is my first purposeful one. But, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to ask if, like, obviously you work with a lot of, new investors, etc. If you're talking to a brand new investor, what would you tell them how would they get started in this?
Man, so I think you gotta go with what is your goal? Like, if you're investing, are you wanting to flip this house? Then you need to go in it with a flip mindset, because that determines. The number one thing also is like, try to take it as a business. When you get emotionally involved in a project, that will mess with your decision making, because you're going to have to make 1,000 decisions through this process. If you have either a mentor that'll help you, watching somebody else do it, like latching on to somebody else doing a project is huge.
Yeah.
Go offer to work with them, or work on their, just show up. If somebody came to me and said, I'll just show up at your job site and actually tell you that like your appliance is delivered, or meet some guy at 8 o'clock to unlock the door, to show up, like that is huge amount of, what do you call it? Apprenticeship or something like that. Like that's what I would say. New guys need to be willing to get their hands dirty, be willing to be creative on what kind of, because right now it's going to be hard to find a deal. There's incredible opportunity though. I think that the buying season's really, really good.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to stomach, you're going to buy somebody else's problem, and you have to be able to stomach what that is.
Well, I mean, as realtors, this is the opportunity to buy, because the interest rates are high, but you make most of your money on the price point. And we're getting lower price points right now.
Yeah, and also go back to your model. Like if you're flipping, you're in and out, and you care what the ARV is. If you're a buy and hold investor, and you're holding this thing for 20 years, you just get away from what's it worth after you're done. Like that's completely irrelevant unless you're doing a BRRRR. If you're doing a BRRRR and trying to get your capital back right away, you want to know what your ARV is. But I also say take that, and like you can do a refi at any time. You don't need to put yourself on like, I need to do it right in 6 months and get right into the next one.
Yeah.
So you got to
have a hard money loan.
Yeah, if you're in a hard money 6-month term, yeah.
That's what I had, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a 12-month term, but
yeah. That's I'd put as much of your own skin in the game and as much of your own work in the game as possible. That's where it's going to set you apart from somebody who doesn't touch it and doesn't use their own money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Jordan.
Oh no, I mean, just if someone wanted to reach out to you and get a hold of you, kind of get some advice, meet up with you, where do people find you?
On my jobs.
No, I mean, like how can they get in contact?
Instagram.
Show up at one of my job sites.
Yeah.
No, just,
Like, come and help me.
Yeah.
Please demo a kitchen for me.
Show up with a truck and a hefty sack, and you'll I'll mentor you. Right? But I have Instagram and I have Facebook. I think my Instagram's the Justin Green 007, I think, or Justin Green PDX. I can't remember what my Instagram is.
Okay.
I'm not I do social media, but I'm also at this point of I'm comfortable enough in my own career and my own path that I'm not trying to be like a social media giant anymore. Plus traveling and getting away from the phone has been a big, but yeah, to get a hold of me is like texting or DMing me. I'm totally fine on DMs and Facebook messengers and Instagram DMs and text messages. Texting works really good because oftentimes my phone's ringing nonstop. Phone calls.
Do you want to give a number so people can text you in case they're savvy investors? Or
Sure, I guess. Yeah, why not? It's 503-869-8276. That's my direct line. A text, and I'm happy to talk to. That's fine.
It's just not spam, Justin. So
yeah, don't try to sell me like a timeshare or something.
I don't think that's what our audience is doing.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, this is great. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks
so much.
Pretty cool. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So.
Really
All right.
appreciate it.